Many people today don't feel stressed in a dramatic way. They feel scattered. They rest, but the rest doesn't land. They slow down, but their mind keeps running, and even small moments feel crowded. The strange part is this. A lot of people respond to that feeling by trying to optimize calm. They download meditation apps, they track sleep, they watch productivity videos about balance, they try to fix their mind with more effort. But calm is not something you can force, and in some cases, effort is the very thing that keeps calm away. Welcome to Mini Mind Hack. In this video, we will look at the Japanese tea ceremony, not as a cultural curiosity and not as a luxury hobby, but as a serious system for shaping attention and experience. We'll start with the world it emerged from. Then we'll look at what a tea room was designed to do psychologically. And finally, we'll connect its logic to modern psychology and neuroscience, especially what we now know about attention, overload, and mental recovery. The Japanese tea ceremony is often called chanoyu or sadō, the way of tea. But it is not mainly about drinking tea. It is about creating a moment where the mind stops managing everything. To understand why this matters, we need to go back to Japan in the late medieval period. In the 15th and 16th centuries, Japan was not a stable, unified country in the modern sense. Political power was fragmented, military conflict was frequent, and society was strongly hierarchical. This was the era leading into the Sengoku period, often described as Japan's warring states era. Regional lords competed for territory, samurai served in shifting alliances, and daily life, even for elites, carried a constant sense of uncertainty. In that environment, the ability to regulate oneself was not just a personal virtue. It was a survival skill. And at the same time, Japan's cultural elite was absorbing influences from Zen Buddhism, Chinese arts, and older court traditions. There was a strong interest in refinement, discipline, and form. Tea entered this world first as a luxury import. At earlier stages, tea culture in Japan was tied to Chinese-style status display. Elites used expensive tea bowls and ornate objects to show taste and power. But over time, something changed. A different tea culture developed, one that moved away from display and towards simplicity. And this shift is strongly associated with one person, Sen no Rikyū. Rikyū lived in the 16th century. He was not a warlord. He was not a monk in the classic sense either. He was a tea master, a professional of ritual, design, and social atmosphere. And in Japan at that time, that role mattered far more than it might sound today. Tea gatherings were not casual social events. They were political spaces. Warlords negotiated alliances. They displayed legitimacy. They demonstrated control, taste, and seriousness. Rikyū served some of the most powerful figures of his time, including Oda Nobunaga and Toyotomi Hideyoshi. And what he did was quietly radical. He stripped tea down. He emphasized small spaces, rough textures, muted colors, simple utensils, a sense of humility. This style is often described through the concept of wabi. Wabi does not mean poverty, and it does not mean sadness. It points to a kind of beauty that comes from simplicity, imperfection, and restraint. But to see what this means psychologically, we need to look at the tea room itself. Because the tea ceremony is not just a sequence of actions. It is an engineered environment. A traditional tea room is intentionally small, often so small that you cannot bring your normal social posture inside. The entrance is low. You have to bow to enter. This is not a decorative detail. It is a psychological move. The door forces your body to abandon status. You cannot enter proudly. You cannot enter quickly. You cannot enter while performing. You enter slowly. And you enter reduced. Inside, the space is quiet. The objects are few, and every element is placed deliberately. This is the opposite of modern life. Modern environments are built to keep attention open and reactive. Notifications, headlines, multitasking, constant background noise. The tea room does the reverse. It closes attention. It narrows the world. And this narrowing is not deprivation. It is relief. One of the most important things the tea ceremony teaches is that calm is not created by adding more positive feelings. It is created by removing unnecessary interference. There is a famous set of principles often associated with the tea tradition. Wa-ke-sei, jaku, harmony, respect, purity, tranquility. These can sound like slogans, so let's translate them into ordinary experience. Harmony in tea is not emotional harmony, it is environmental harmony. It means the room, the objects, the gestures, and the pacing do not compete for attention. Nothing is trying to impress you. Respect is not politeness as performance. It is the recognition that every person in the room is sharing the same fragile moment. In the tea room, you don't dominate the atmosphere. You protect it. Purity is not moral purity. It is attentional cleanliness. Before the ceremony begins, utensils are cleaned in a slow, visible way. This is not just hygiene, it is a signal to the mind. We are leaving the previous world behind. And tranquility is not something you achieve by force. It is what remains when you stop pushing. This is where tea becomes deeply relevant to modern psychology. Because one of the most exhausting things for the human mind is not effort itself. It is switching. Switching between tasks, switching between social roles, switching between work mode and rest mode, switching between being present and being self-monitoring. In cognitive psychology, this is often discussed as task switching cost. Even when switching feels small, the brain pays a price. Attention has to reorient. Goals have to be reloaded. The nervous system has to adjust. Over time, this produces a specific kind of fatigue. Not physical tiredness, but mental friction. And modern life is built out of constant friction. The tea ceremony is a structure designed to remove that. It creates a clear boundary. Inside the ceremony, there is only one thing happening. And it happens slowly enough that the mind can stop chasing the next moment. This also connects to what neuroscience tells us about recovery. Real recovery is not simply doing nothing. Real recovery is leaving the state of monitoring. Many people rest while still supervising themselves. Am I resting correctly? Am I wasting time? Should I be doing something else? Why am I not enjoying this? That kind of rest is not rest. It is management. The tea ceremony is the opposite. It is a moment where management is not required. Everything is decided in advance. The sequence is stable. The space is limited. The rules are clear. And because of that, the mind can finally stop being in charge. This is also why the tea ceremony is often linked to Zen. Zen is not about producing a special mental state. It is about seeing experience without constant commentary. The tea ceremony is Zen in material form, not through philosophy, through pacing, through silence, through simplicity, through attention to ordinary actions. Boiling water, folding cloth, turning a bowl. In modern terms, you could say the tea ceremony is a training device for attention. But it is not training attention to become more productive. It is training attention to become less divided. And that brings us to the most important modern lesson. The tea ceremony is not asking you to romanticize old Japan. It is not asking you to live like a monk. It is not asking you to copy a ritual. It is showing something about the human nervous system. It is showing that the mind becomes exhausted when it is forced to interpret, evaluate, and control everything. And that clarity appears when the world becomes simple enough that interpretation is no longer necessary. So what can you take from this into modern life? Here are 3 practical translations. First, build a doorway. Not a literal tea room doorway. A small transition. Before you enter a new part of your day, create a short moment that signals, this is a different world. It could be washing your hands slowly. It could be making tea. It could be a 2-minute reset where you do nothing except breathe and look at one object. The point is not relaxation, the point is boundary. Second, reduce choice during recovery. Modern rest is often full of decisions. What should I watch? What should I eat? Should I reply? Should I scroll? The tea ceremony removes choice, and that is why it works. Try one recovery ritual that is always the same. Same time, same steps, same simplicity. The nervous system learns safety through repetition. Third, treat calm as subtraction, not achievement. A lot of modern self-help treats calm as a goal, something you reach by doing enough. The tea ceremony treats calm as what remains when unnecessary effort stops. That is a very different relationship to the self, and it can be deeply relieving, because it suggests that you may not be broken. You may simply be living in an environment that constantly forces your mind to supervise itself. The tea ceremony was a cultural response to a world of pressure, hierarchy, and instability. It created a small pocket where experience could become direct again. And that is why it still matters. Not because it is exotic, but because it understood something basic about the human mind. Thank you for staying with me. If you want more essays that connect everyday experience with psychology, culture, and philosophy, you can subscribe to the channel or leave a comment. Take care, and I'll see you next time.